Good evening. You're watching News at 10 with me, Renee Fong. The Conditional Movement Control Order, CMCO, enforced in Kota Baru, Machang, Tanah Merah and Pasir Mas in Kelantan has been lifted today following a drastic downward trend in COVID-19 positive cases in these areas. However, Senior Minister for Security Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob said the CMCO in Mukim Kubang Kerian in Kota Baru and Mukim Kusial in Tanah Merah would continue until 20th December, as the active cases were concentrated in these areas. The senior minister in a statement said that the Enhanced Movement Control Order (EMCO) imposed at Madrasah Ad-Diniyah Al-Falahiyah Kampung Dalam Huma in Pasir Putih will also continue until 20th December. Previously, the government announced that the 4 districts would be placed under CMCO beginning 7th to 20th December. However, the government decided to end the restriction order earlier than scheduled after the Health Ministry confirmed that COVID-19 cases in the respective districts have showed a drastic downward trend and is now under control. The COVID-19 tally in Malaysia is now at 80,309 after another 1,810 individuals tested positive for the virus as at noon today. Health Director General Tan Sri Dr. Nur Hisham Abdullah said out of the new infections, 11 were imported while the rest were local transmissions. In a release statement, he noted that Selangor continues to report the highest new cases at 829, with majority of the infections were from existing clusters and close contact screenings in the area. Tan Sri Dr. Nur Hisham also disclosed 937 recoveries, which left the country with 12,734 active cases remaining. There are currently 123 patients in the intensive care unit, out of which 63 requiring ventilator support. The death toll rises to 402 after 6 new fatalities were reported in Sabah and Pulau Pinang in the last 24 hours. The Health Ministry has also identified 6 new clusters while declaring the end of another 3. With the latest development, the number of total clusters reported in the country so far is 407, with 190 of them remain active. Malaysia has put a target to vaccinate about 70% of its population in order to create an umbrella of herd immunity under the National Immunisation Plan. The country so far has signed 2 agreements which guarantee sufficient COVID-19 vaccine doses for 30% of the population. These strong efforts made by the government had created various reactions among the people, especially in terms of the safety and efficacy of the vaccine.
Saya rasa ia perlu diwajibkan lah sebab ia bagus untuk kita nak protect diri daripada virus COVID-19 ni lah. Yang untuk vaksin ni semua kita serahkan pada kerajaan kita lah. Diorang mesti tahu lebih detail lah sebelum diorang nak bagi dekat kita rakyat kan. Diorang mesti nak yang terbaik juga untuk rakyat dia. So apa yang diorang dah bagi tahu, apa yang diorang dah check tu semua, so kita mesti percayalah.
So far, memandangkan virus ni masih lagi orang kata banyak yang dekat Malaysia. So far, kalau untuk keselamatan diri saya dan family, why not saya ambil untuk for better future jugalah.
Kalau bagi saya, pendapat saya selamatlah sebab vaksin ni susah nak dapat. Tapi bila diorang buat tu, diorang dah kaji, tengok pada orang yang kaji tu macam boleh pakai, so rasanya boleh kot.
Malaysia is expected to receive about 1 million doses of vaccine in the first quarter of next year, with several targeted groups prioritised, including frontliners involving staff of the Health Ministry and Malaysian Armed Forces. The prosecution in Datin Sri Rosmah Mansor's corruption trial relating to the solar hybrid project for rural schools in Sarawak closed its case today after calling 23 witnesses. Senior Deputy Public Prosecutor Datuk Sri Gopal Sri Ram told High Court Judge Muhammad Zaini Mazlan that the prosecution was closing its case after its 5th witness, former Education Minister Datuk Sri Mak Khalid, who was recalled for cross-examination by the defence, completed giving his evidence. The court then fixed 10 February next year for both parties to appear for oral clarification before deciding whether to acquit Datin Sri Rosma of the corruption charges or order her to enter her defence. Datuk Sri Ram had earlier said the prosecution was offering 10 prosecution witnesses, including former Prime Minister Datuk Sri Najib Tun Razak, to the defence. Datin Sri Rosma is facing one charge of soliciting 187.5 million ringgit and 2 counts of receiving bribes totalling 6.5 million ringgit from Jepak Holdings. It was as an inducement to help the company to secure the solar hybrid project for 369 rural schools in Sarawak through direct negotiation from the Education Ministry. The court ordered the defence and prosecution to file their written submissions on 28th December and 4th January respectively, while the defence has to reply to the prosecution on 29th January next year. A 22-year-old YouTuber who was suspected of molesting a university student has been remanded for 2 days to assist with the investigation. The remand order was granted by Magistrate Kamarul Hashimi Rosli at Kota Baru Court today. According to Kota Baru Police Chief ACP Abdul Rahim Daud, the victim had claimed that she was molested by the suspect while recording a video for the suspect's YouTube channel. The incident allegedly happened at a homestay in Kubang Kerian on 2nd August. She filed a report at the Kota Baru Police Headquarters last Friday. Police arrested the YouTuber and took him into custody after he surrendered himself at the district police station yesterday. Police are investigating the case under Section 354 of the Penal Code for outraging a person's modesty. A tanker driver was charged at Rompin Magistrates Court today with driving under the influence of drugs, which resulted in the death of 2 Pahang Health Department JKNP personnel last Monday. However, the accused, P. Kai Ngien, 34, pleaded not guilty after the charge was read before Magistrate Aziza Ahmad. According to the charge sheet, the accused was allegedly driving under the influence of drugs and failed to control his vehicle, thus causing the death of JKNP personnel who were riding in a 4-wheel drive vehicle during the incident. He was also accused of driving under the influence of drugs and causing injuries to another health personnel, as well as the driver of a Perodua Myvi, which was also involved in the crash. He was charged under Section 44, subsection 1, subsection A, and Section 44, subsection 1A, subsection A of the Road Transport Act 1987. The court granted him bail of 11,000 ringgit in one surety for all the charges and ordered him to report to the police every month. Meanwhile, Kai Ngien also pleaded not guilty to using methamphetamine, an offence that provides a maximum fine of 5,000 ringgit or imprisonment of up to 2 years if convicted. For this charge, the court allowed him bail of 1,500 ringgit in one surety and fixed mention on 15th February next year. 4 women were among 167 drug addicts and peddlers detained in an integrated operation code named Optapis, conducted by the Narcotics Criminal Investigation Department in 3 districts in Melaka from 8th to 10th December. State NCID Chief Superintendent Zulkifli Rashid said a 40-year-old Thai national and more than 20 drug peddlers were arrested during raids at houses and drug dens around the state. Zulkifli added that the police also seized various types of drugs, including ketum and contraband cigarettes worth 100,000 ringgit. Also seized in the operation were a car and 6 motorcycles worth a total of 80,500 ringgit.
Sepanjang tempoh operasi ini daripada 8 hingga 10 Disember 2020, sebanyak 160 tangkapan telah berjaya ditangkap, di mana sebanyak 163 orang lelaki dan 4 orang perempuan. Dalam operasi ini telah berjaya merampas pelbagai jenis dadah. Tadi ada syabu, heroin, ganja, daun ketum, cecair ketum dan juga rokok selup. Di mana umur yang telah ditangkap iaitu berumur antara 18 hingga 68 tahun.
Speaking to reporters at Malacca Police Headquarters, he explained that all suspects were arrested under numerous sections, including Section 39B of the Dangerous Drugs Act 1952, Section 30, Subsection 3 of the Poisons Act 1952, and Section 3, Subsection 1 of the Drug Dependence Treatment and Rehabilitation Act 1983. Coming up, new economic sectors to be identified under 12 MP. Stay with us. Newly appointed Perak Menteri Besar Datuk Sarani Mohamad will propose 5 more names to be appointed as State Executive Councillors to Sultan of Perak, Sultan Nazrin Shah, as soon as possible. However, Datuk Sarani said whether the 5 names will feature the same faces from the previous lineup will depend on suitability and the consent of Sultan Nazrin.
Ya, kita akan penuhkan dia seperti mana yang sebelum ini dan akan tiba masanya pelantikan itu akan dibuat. Cuma harus diingat bahawa Menteri Besar hanya boleh mencadangkan nama Exco. Hak mutlak untuk memperkenankan cadangan tersebut dan pelantikan Exco adalah Duli Yang Maha Mulia Paduka Seri Sultan Perak Darul Ridwan.
He was met after clocking in for his first day at work at the Perak Darul Rizwan building in Ipoh. In the related matter, Datuk Sarani said he would hold the first State Exco meeting next Monday, in which he would be giving a briefing on the Perak Budget 2021 to all assemblymen so that it can be tabled on Wednesday. A number of new economic sectors will be identified under the 12th Malaysia Plan, 12MP, to drive the economy forward and create economic opportunities for the people. Minister in the Prime Minister's Department Economy, Datuk Sri Mustafa Muhammad, said focus will be on accelerating the development of high potential industries, among others aerospace, advanced electrical and electronics, halal, creative industry, biomass and smart farming.
These industries are identified based on their prospect in generating high value-added activities and products, advanced technology adoption, R&D and innovation, high-skill employment, as well as their contribution in achieving the green agenda.
Speaking at a webinar on 12MP hosted by the Malaysian Economic Association, the minister added that the country must also increase chain values, environmental sustainability, as well as delivery system efficiency and utilizing technological and innovation to boost economic growth. He said successful application of these aspects will increase the country's competitiveness and economic security, cementing Malaysia's position as a main player in the global supply chain. About 154 million ringgit have been allocated for construction projects of the Langkap, Tengkek and Ulu Sepri Seri Menanti new roads in Kuala Pilah. According to Deputy Works Minister Datuk Aidin Shazli Sheikh, this allocation under the Rural Development Ministry KPLB in collaboration with the Public Works Department JKR is intended to overcome road congestion issues in Kuala Pilah, especially during festive seasons. Dato' Aidin Shazli further explained that the project was the first ever rolling plan RP for the Kuala Pilah Parliament constituency, involving 77 million ringgit in costs for every project.
Ini salah satu daripada usaha kerajaan untuk menambah baikkan jalan daripada Kuala Pilah ke Sumban yang akan dilakukan secara berperingkat lah. Tetapi kerajaan juga melalui JKR sedang membuat kajian berkenaan usaha-usaha jalan Kuala Pilah Sumban. Ini melibatkan banyak tanah adat yang memerlukan kos land acquisition yang agak besar.
Speaking at an event in Tanjung Ipoh, Kuala Pilah, Dato' Idin Shazli also said the Ministry of Health has allocated about 200 million ringgit for the construction project of an additional building block in Hospital Tuanku Ampuan Najihah. This is to facilitate nearby residents to access medical services, especially involving specialist doctor consultation and treatment. The Malacca State Budget 2021 tabled last week is not headed for a general election as its objective. Malacca Chief Minister Datuk Sri Sulaiman Mad Ali insisted this, saying that other parties are free to make their own assumptions.
Saya tidak beranggapan begitu. Apa saya ingin buat ini adalah khusus kepada rakyat yang sepatutnya menerima nikmat daripada limpahan ekonomi yang ada dalam negeri ini. Jadi untuk makluman saya lebih daripada 54 juta daripada peruntukan ataupun bajet itu saya serahkan kembali kepada rakyat.
He was commenting on the allegations by opposition leader Adli Zahari, who claimed that there seemed to have a hidden agenda behind the Malacca State Budget 2021 to steer the country towards a general election. Earlier, the Malacca State Legislative Assembly passed the state's budget 2021 to enable the administration and development agenda to be continued. The budget tabled was based on thrusts, namely technology, entrepreneurship, industrial and economic revolution, and international and well-being. In the foreign segment, EU leaders clinch deal on tougher 2030 climate goal. Hong Kong media tycoon and Beijing critic Jimmy Lai was charged under a new national security law today. Accused of colluding with foreign forces, the latest pro-democracy figure targeted under the legislation. National security offences carry a maximum sentence of life in prison. Lai, 73, is the owner of Hong Kong's best-selling Apple Daily, a popular tabloid that is unashamedly pro-democracy and fiercely critical of authorities. Police raided the newspaper's headquarters in August and arrested a string of senior company figures, including Lai, on suspicion of collusion with foreign forces under the vaguely worded new law that Beijing imposed on Hong Kong. China's clampdown on Hong Kong has dramatically accelerated since it imposed a security law in June, with opposition politicians disqualified from the legislature and dozens of activists charged or investigated. Lai is only the fourth person charged under the controversial national security legislation. The others are a 19-year-old activist for allegedly promoting secession on social media, a man who rode his motorbike into police offices at a protest, and a man who repeatedly shouted pro-democracy slogans at police. France's Sanofi and Britain's GSK said today that their COVID-19 vaccines will not be ready until the end of 2021 after interim results showed a low immune response in older adults. The announcement is a huge setback in efforts to fight the pandemic, which first emerged in China last December and has killed over 1.5 million people worldwide. Sanofi and GSK said the delay in their adjuvanted recombinant protein-based COVID-19 vaccine program was to improve immune response in older adults. The Sanofi-GSK candidate is based on technology that Sanofi has used to produce seasonal influenza vaccines and on immunological agents developed by GSK. The statement said phase 1 to 2 study interim results showed an immune response comparable to patients who recovered from COVID-19 in adults aged 18 to 49 years, but a low immune response in older adults likely due to an insufficient concentration of the antigen. The company's plan a phase 2B study expected to start in February if the data is positive. A global phase 3 study could start in the second quarter of the next year. The statement said positive results from this study would lead to regulatory submissions in the second half of 2021, hence delaying the vaccine's potential availability from mid-2021 to fourth quarter of 2021. EU leaders today agreed an ambitious target for cutting greenhouse gas emissions after unlocking the bloc's landmark budget and coronavirus recovery fund at a marathon summit. The 27 member states struck a deal on a binding target to slash emissions by at least 55% by 2030, following an entire night of intense wrangling in Brussels. The target is a compromise between wealthier, mostly Western and Nordic EU countries that want more ambitious action and eastern states with coal-dependent power sectors and energy-intensive industries, which wanted specific conditions attached to emissions cuts. As part of its commitments to the Paris Climate Agreement, the EU has pledged to become climate neutral by 2050, the date when it would offset or capture Next is sports. FAM MSN project squad get thumbs up. Needs space to develop. Stay tuned. Former Harimau Muda chief coach Ong Kim Swee has given the thumbs up for the FAM MSN project squad, saying he believes they will provide their worth after a few years of playing in the Premier League. The Football Association of Malaysia FAM Assistant Technical Director said the squad, under the guidance of chief coach Yusri Chela, should be given the space to compete consistently and grow in the league. Kim Swee said his experience with Harimau Muda showed that the young players, who are mostly age 18, could overcome the challenge of competing against imported players.
Kalau kita lihat daripada program Harimau Muda yang dulu, kita bermain dengan pemain-pemain import. Tanpa pemain-pemain import dan dengan pemain-pemain muda, kita mampu bersaing. Saya tidak katakan pemain-pemain ini akan dibelasah ataupun akan menjuarai. Tetapi tujuan kita untuk mendedarkan mereka pada peringkat yang lebih tinggi, dan saya percaya pasukan ini akan bertambah baik selepas tahun kedua, ketiga, dan kemungkinan kita boleh mencapai kejayaan pada tahun seterusnya.
He was met after the unveiling of the FAM NSN project squad at Wisma FAM in Kelana Jaya. Kim Swee said young players needed exposure to develop their career, and the intensity of competition of the Premier League was regarded as more suitable than that of the Super League or President's Cup and Youth Cup. 30 players comprising the Mokhtar Dahari Academy graduates and products of the Youth Cup and President's Cup, Malaysian and state sports schools and district training centres under the T National Football Development Program will form the Pioneer FAM MSN project squad in January next year. Belgium were crowned FIFA's Team of the Year for the third straight time after retaining the top spots ahead of world champions France in the latest world rankings released yesterday. While a total of 1,082 international games were played in 2019, the most since the ranking system was introduced in 1993, only 352 matches were held this year, the fewest since 1987 due to the disruption caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. Roberto Martinez's Belgium won 6 of their 8 games this year as they booked their place in next year's UEFA Nations League finals. The top 4 remained unchanged, with Brazil and England retaining their 3rd and 4th ranking respectively. Portugal moved up to 5th, while both Spain at the 6th place and Argentina at 7th place improved 2 places compared to last year. Hungary were the most improved side in the rankings this year, having gained 44 points and 12 places to break into the top 50. Marco Rossi's side lost just once in 8 matches to qualify for the Euro 2020 finals, which has been postponed until June-July next year due to COVID-19. Arsenal maintained their perfect record in this season's Europa League as goals from Eddie Nketiah, Mohamed Elneny, Joe Willock and Folarin Balogun sealed a 4-2 win at Dundalk in their final Group B early this morning. Edward Nketiah saw his hard work pay off in 12 minutes when the forward chased down a defender and intercepted an attempted clearance before dinking over the keeper from inside the box. Mohamed El Neni scored a sensational goal 6 minutes later as the Egypt international unleashing an unstoppable hit from 25 yards out that left goalkeeper Gary Rogers no chance despite a desperate dive. The goal was El Nani's first for the club in 3 years. The hosts pulled a goal back 4 minutes later through Jordan Flores, who shot from inside the box beat Runar Runarsson in the Arsenal goal. Mikel Arteta's men restored their 2-goal advantage when Joseph Willock struck in the 67th minute with a low and hard shot from close range that snuck under Rogers, who was unfortunate not to save. Substitute Folarin Balogun added further gloss 10 minutes from time with a cool side-footed finish from the left after Nicolas Pepe rolled the ball invitingly into his path. Dundalk then completed the night scoring in the 85th with a fine Sean Hoare headed from a set-piece situation. Arsenal, who scored 20 goals in the 6 group games, will discover their last 32 opponents in Monday's draw in Nyon, but Arteta said the team will also be focusing on Sunday's Premier League game against Burnley. Arsenal are 15th in England's top flight with 13 points from 11 games, 3 places above Burnley, who are in the relegation zone. Fancy a cup of donkey's milk to boost your immune system? Touted for its immunity-boosting benefits, according to local folk wisdom. Donkey milk is drawing new fans in Albania during the COVID-19 pandemic. The business is also a boon for donkeys themselves, who are enjoying a comfortable lifestyle far from their traditional roles as beasts of burden who are often subject to abuse.
Tani, qumshi i gomaricës, jo vetëm këtu, gjithandaj dihet për efektshmërinë e tij në bukuri. Siç është përdorur dhe më përpara Kleopatra ka përdorur vaskat me qumësh gomarice për trajtimin e lëkurës së saj. Thuhet që ka pasur.
At €50 a litre, the price of their milk is exorbitant in a country where the average wage barely reaches €400 a month. But fears around COVID-19 have set off a flurry of interest. While no one is branding the milk as a cure for the virus, aficionados are convinced its nutritional profile, which is close to human milk, helps strengthen the body's natural defenses. The milk is also used to make soaps, masks, and other beauty products. Regina Bekiri, a pharmacist who concocts the mixture, says sales are up at a time when virus restrictions mean people are spending more time at home and can take better care of their skin.
Atëherë, kam ardhur në fermë për të ndihmuar prindit e mi, pasi ato sapo kanë kaluar Covidin dhe krahas ilaçeve që ato do përdorin, kam menduar që një kur të jetë shumë e mirë për procesin e frymëmarrjes së tyre, i cili është i vështirë, është edhe qumshti i gomaricës.
That's it from us this evening in our top stories. YMCO lifted early in 4 Kelantan districts. Join us again at 12:30 tomorrow afternoon for more updates. I'm Renee Fong. Thanks for watching and good night.